What's up, guys? I'm going to be making a quick video today on my Victory Octane here, and we're going to be talking about I believe it's called the Hurican. It is the latest intake designed by Indian Aftermarket, owned by Marcus. He designed this product himself, and this is supposed to be the most efficient and high flow intake for both the the Victory Octane and the Indian Scout. So we're going to be installing this today. The install is identical for both bikes, but I'm building this one out to be my performance bike, so we're gonna work on this. Talking a little bit about the intake, this is exactly how it came out of the box, minus some protective wrapping. It is a Octane filter, pre-installed, some basic hose clamps. This is entirely 3D printed, and then obviously there's the vacuum line. You can see, Thunderworks, Hurican. It's really cool. What I like about this is right here where it goes into the throttle body. It's circular. This is designed to create even pressure upon entering the engine. So that way this is the most efficient at getting equal amount of high volume air into both cylinders equally. It's very cool, very high tech. He did a great job here. All right, setting aside the filter, we're gonna start off. We're gonna be removing the seat. This has obviously, how you take off your seat depends on what seat you have. Mine is an Allen bolt on the rear, but yours may just pop right off. All right, once your seat is removed, you have to undo these 4 bolts here. These are a 13 millimeter, so we'll go ahead and get that done. And we will hand loosen it the rest of the way. We do not want to lose a bolt down in where a battery is. That would make this a much more difficult process. No one wants to dig through wires. All right, guys, once you've done that, you're going to disconnect this vacuum line here. It just pulls right out. If you noticed earlier, this was actually already disconnected. I replaced one of the isolator bushings on the tank last night, and I totally forgot to put this back. So take that off, set it to the side, and then you can lift up the tank. All right, next, what you're going to want to do is put something underneath here to prop this up so you can get underneath the gas tank to disconnect both the fuel line and the fuel pump wiring harness. I use this towel, but most people use a small piece of wood. I just don't have that readily available to me at the moment. But you're gonna come in here, and right there, you can see that plug. That is for the fuel pump. We're gonna disconnect that. And then right here, where that green little switch is, well, not a switch, but a tab, that is the fuel line running from the tank towards the throttle body. We're gonna disconnect that. I also recommend putting some kind of towel or something under in here, so that way when the little bit of fuel leaks out, and it will be a little, but it will not dump the whole tank, just a few drops in here just to soak up the gas. You don't want to tarnish any of the paint job on these beautiful, beautiful bikes. So we're gonna go ahead and get that done. I'm one-handed, I can't film this, I'm sorry, but it's just clips. I'm sure you guys can figure out how to do that. All right, so I took this little plate off here. The Victories looks like this, minus the orange thing. We're not gonna talk about that. And on the Indian, it's just a different shape, but it's just a 5 millimeter Allen, 2 of them. No big deal. And I had a towel in here, and I was able to pull this fuel line off. It is just this green button. There's one on top here and one on the other side, or on the bottom of this, right where my finger's touching. You push both of those in, and this just pulls right off. This bike is 25,000 miles. If this was gonna be stuck, it would be. It comes off super easy. If you're fighting it, you're doing it wrong. So just slow, take your time. It'll come right off. I have big hands, huge hands, and I was struggling to get under the tank. So what I did is inside here, you can look right here. This is one. This is the isolator bushing. Right here is a mounting hole. I'm gonna try and focus this. We'll get the sunlight out of there we go. This right here, this little C shape, this mounts onto this here, right here. This keeps the gas tank quiet from shaking around and rattling. What you can do is pull back and up, and you can set it right on top. This will give you a lot of room. You can also see it looks like it has a tank lift. It actually looks kind of nice. So next what we're gonna do, we're gonna go underneath here again, and way up in there like I showed you, there's the fuel pump. We are going to lift up the tank, unclip that, and then the tank is completely free. Alrighty, that literally took me 2 seconds. So now the tank is completely disconnected. The only thing we have to do next, and we have to be careful, is that right here, you can see the fuel line goes under the frame. So it's super easy. Just push the fuel line back, slide it up there, just you can see where that is connected to the top of the tank. It goes behind this piece of black tube steel you're looking at right now, behind the zip tie, and it goes to right there. So super easy. It just takes 2 hands, so I can't show you, but just lift it up, push that through, and this tank is completely disconnected. You can set it to the side. All right, guys, gas tank is off. The fuel line goes through this little hose, through this gap here where this vacuum hose is. And the fuel line does make a 90-degree turn right at the end where it plugs in. So that makes it a little difficult to fit through here, but just take your time, make sure you prop the gas tank up. If you have 2 people, that's even better to have one hold the gas tank so you don't drop it. Luckily, I didn't have that issue. My gas tank is still perfectly fine. But get it through there, and then we are going to work on these 2 bolts here, this bolt, these 2 bolts, and this zip tie. I already got these off. I will show a little bit more about that in a second. Oh, well, there they are. But yeah, we'll get this one frame rail off because if we take both off, the bike will collapse without support from underneath. And then getting this one off will give us access to pull the airbox off, and we will start with the install portion of this. Alrighty, so I have loosened them all. We're gonna go over this. These here are 1 bolt continuing through on each. These are 15 millimeter, so you have to put a wrench on one side, wrench on the other. If you're facing the bike, as if you're riding it, pull this towards you, that will loosen. This one here is only on the one side. It is a 13. Mine was actually loose. Luckily, they won't fall out because the gas tank will be in the way. So make sure they're snug, make sure they're tight, but it's not a huge deal. You don't need Loctite or anything like that. These back here, also on one side. These are 15 millimeter. Just put it on one side, pull it towards you. Pull towards the back of the bike, that will loosen. Give a nice crack, and then honestly, they'll hand tighten right off. It's very good threading. All right, all the bolts are out. Well, I haven't taken these out, but there'll be a nut here, bolt here, bolt here. As seen, I line them up in the proper direction. You have to clip 1 zip tie. Pull that off. We will have to replace that. And then, oh, hold on, there's one more right here. Quick snip, pull it out. Alrighty, now this will pull right off. You do not need to remove those bolts. As you can see, this pulled right off. Make sure you don't lose this little rubber mount. They do fall off, and you do need them for the tank to stay on properly. And now the airbox is exposed. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna loosen this here, and we're just gonna pull right up, and that will take off the airbox. If you are doing a K&N air filter and just doing the filter change, there's some bolts here, one of which is loose and one of which is actually missing, interesting enough. Just loosen them, take the filter off, put the new one on, make sure you've oiled it, and then you're good to go. You can put everything back on and you are done. But I'm gonna be doing a full new air filter, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. Also, if you're removing the entire airbox, do not forget that right here, there are 2 vacuum lines. Excuse me, I've already pulled these off. They're just on there. There's another one behind there, right here. They just pull right off, super easy. And look how good that looks. Alrighty, so I did have to trim down this hose on the front end a little bit. I did it about a 1/4 increment at a time. Otherwise, the filter would face like this way. And originally, the original hose length, it actually doesn't fit on at all. That is in the instructions. It is something you're supposed to do. But I did forget to mention earlier, that ring right there, that was right here. You gotta take that out. There's no need for it. Honestly, at that point, well, as little as it is, it's just weight. So now that the filter is oiled, the vacuum lines are hooked up, and both of these are tightened, we can go ahead and reassemble, and I will be back once I'm done. All right, so the frame rail is back on. These 2 15s are back on. These 2 nuts on this 15 are on, and this 13 is on. On the Octane, it is a tight fit. I will not lie. It does crush this down a little bit. This no longer moves. This is a gigantic air filter. This will do its job very well, and it will be clean for a very long time. I believe on the Indian Scout, this is a slight bit wider and will fit better. But this does fit, and it will work just fine. Next, I have to reconnect a few zip ties, one that I broke over here that the rest of you watching this will probably not need to deal with. There was one here that I did not see on other videos, so it may have been an aftermarket thing from the previous owner. But there was one along here for this hose right here. This is a coolant line. This is something that everyone watching this video, if you choose to do this, regardless of the air filter, you will need to replace. So we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna go see if I even have any zip ties laying around, and we're gonna get this on. And then next we're going to do is right here, the fuel pump for the gas tank. And we're gonna be hooking it back up the fuel line, which means we're gonna be reinstalling the tank. Whoop-de-doo. Let's get her done. All right, so how this works is air goes down through the filter, out this hole in the front, into this chamber in the frame underneath the handlebars, circles, and then it comes back into this hole where it goes down into a separate chamber below. So you kind of see it comes in through that circle, comes in back out of the picture, and then back in down under here, and that's what it takes to the throttle body. So it's a lot of curving, and it's very inefficient for airflow. And one thing I do want to mention is this is a sealed cavity in here. I originally thought air came in through this. It does not. It comes in from here, the little gap between the tank and here. So if you want better airflow on top of the air filter, I recommend getting a small tank lift. So now we're going to go ahead and start the install. Guys, we're now going to move on to the install portion. I'm being joined by my brother, who gets to work on his Mustang while we do this. You want to fix mine while you're at it, please? Okay, so inside the box, you get, as I showed earlier, the air filter, and you also get the silicone ring. I live next to an airbase, I can hear a helicopter. All right, so this ring is going to expand and go over and around the throttle body. This is going to act as like a sealant. It's going to keep the dirty air out. So we're going to get that on. So we got the little silicone ring on. It took literally 2 seconds. Next, we have to do the only thing that did not come in the kit, and that is oil the filter. So you have to do this to all K&N filters. If it is red, if it is blue, if it says performance on it, oil it. You can get this at any, and I do mean any, auto parts store. It comes in a kit, a cleaning kit, so it will come with a plastic bottle that is for that's for cleaning the intake if it's already been used and it's time to refresh it. And it'll come with this oil to oil it again, which is required if you want this to clean or filter. So we're going to apply this semi-liberally. We're going to pop it on here, put everything back together, and we will be done. All right, I guess we're both doing air cleaner work tonight. But so you spray it down. There is really no such thing as too much. As long as it's not dripping oil, you are good. And you do have to use air filter oil. I can't believe I have to say this, but don't use engine oil or cooking oil or, other oils. So what we're gonna do is pop that right down on there. That was way easier. I didn't think I was actually gonna do it on the video. We're gonna hook up the vacuum lines onto here and tighten everything down, put the frame rail back on, and we'll be good to go. And look how good that looks. Alrighty, so I did have to trim down this hose on the front end a little bit. I did it about a quarter increment at a time. Otherwise the filter would face like this way. And originally, the original hose length, it actually doesn't fit on at all. That is in the instructions. It is something you're supposed to do. But I did forget to mention earlier, that ring right there, that was right here. You gotta take that out. There's no need for it. Honestly, at that point, well, as little as it is, it's just weight. So now that the filter is oiled, the vacuum lines are hooked up, and both of these are tightened, we can go ahead and reassemble, and I will be back once I'm done. All right, so the frame rail is back on. These two 15s are back on. These two nuts on this 15 are on, and this 13 is on. On the Octane, it is a tight fit. I will not lie. It does crush this down a little bit. This no longer moves. This is a gigantic air filter. This will do its job very well, and it will be clean for a very long time. I believe on the Indian Scout, this is a slight bit wider and will fit better. But this does fit, and it will work just fine. Next, I have to reconnect a few zip ties. One that I broke over here that the rest of you watching this will probably not need to deal with. There was one here that I did not see on other videos, so it may have been an aftermarket thing from the previous owner. But there was one along here for this hose right here. This is a coolant line. This is something that everyone watching this video, if you choose to do this, regardless of the air filter, you will need to replace. So we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna go see if I even have any zip ties laying around, and we're gonna get this on. And then next we're going to do is right here, the fuel pump for the gas tank. And we're gonna be hooking it back up the fuel line, which means we're gonna be reinstalling the tank. Whoop-de-doo. Let's get her done. Alrighty, and that is video complete. I had to do some stuff kind of quickly, so I wasn't able to record a bunch of updates, but I will tell you everything. Sorry, the tank was heavy, I'm a little out of breath. But I will tell you everything that has to be done to reinstall after the frame rails. So, like I said, frame rails, these are the 2 rear bolts. Install those. In here, you will set the gas tank on top. You will put a piece of wood underneath this piece here. This is the piece on the back of the tank. Underneath, you will connect, if I can see it. I can't, I tightened it down. But remember, there's a fuel pump connection underneath. The clip that unlocks it faces this way. Down here, this is the fuel line. Remember to put it between the vacuum line and the frame. It is the same vacuum line that you just connected to the air intake. You clip this in. You don't need to press or anything, just push it on. You will hear a very distinct click. That is how you know it will be on. And be careful, it will probably leak more gas. Mine did. I didn't have a towel that time. I was not thinking. After that, remember, your gas tank sits, I'm gonna tilt it to the side so I can get up in there. See that? There's those bumpers that were on the frame rail. There's a C shape that fits on there. 4 13mm bolts. These snug and tight, do not need to worry about torquing them down. The seat will cover it. These will not come off. And that is it. Put your seat back on and you are ready to ride. Ready? Seat is back on. We're going to give her a start up. There's a chance this will throw an engine code. I'm not sure. We're going to figure this out. So give her a sit. Now, a larger intake like this should cause the sound of the engine to be a lot throatier. So we're going to see. That's the sound. Fuel tank works. Sorry, fuel pump works. Are we seeing any fuel? No fuel is leaking. That means that is connected properly. And start. All right, we started it and ran it for a moment. Not long enough to heat up, obviously, but there's no fuel leaking. We can go ahead and put our covers back on. This install is complete. So that is how you install a Hurican air intake for the Indian Scout Bobber, and the Victory Octane. This is supplied, as I said, by Indian Aftermarket. Talk to Marcus. He is the inventor and owner of the website. He will hook you up. He does great stuff. I really recommend this. I did my research. This is the best air intake for these bikes. There is nothing with a larger filter. There's nothing with the design quality, like the circular thing, like the circular intake on the top, like I spoke about, that helps evenly flow air into the throttle body. This is absolutely the best product you can buy as of 2022, midway, what is it, second quarter almost. Definitely recommend, 100%. I'm gonna go ride it. I'll see you guys out there. Have a good one.